Well, look, let's talk about your former club Newcastle,
Yeah.
who we mentioned already, looking to bounce back from that defeat to West Ham on Monday night. As well as the League Cup victory over Chelsea and the Premier League win over Arsenal, they also beat Nottingham Forest 3-1 just before the international break, and a win would have put them 1 point off the top 4 in that game at home to West Ham. However, the loss has left them 10th as they head now to a struggling Crystal Palace today. But going into this one, Eddie Howe is keen to turn their decent performances into results.
Consistency of results is a very difficult thing to get. I think consistency of performances is the thing that we're looking for, and I think it's been much better since the opening few games. I think we have performed pretty well, not at our best levels, but pretty well for a sustained period of time. I think that's the Premier League this year, and I don't know why that is, but there's a lot of results, inconsistent results, meaning that's reflected in the league table being so congested and tight. Apart from Liverpool, I don't think anyone would probably say that they've been necessarily where they want to be. I think that's the challenge for all of us, and that's the competitiveness of the league. And certainly games and seasons are defined by the next one coming up. Crystal Palace, as I've said, always traditionally a very difficult fixture. They've got very good players, an outstanding manager, so this is another test of our mentality.
It is interesting. He raised the point that we've made a few times about this funny season, how anyone you feel can beat anyone. It is largely inconsistent, and it is a congested table. But what have you made of Newcastle's season so far?
I think it's exactly how he sort of explained it and what you have just sort of spoke about. It's just they've not really got themselves going, and you feel like every time they play, you think, well, on Monday I think everybody had them as heavy favourites to run out winners, to sort of steamroll over West Ham and at St James's on a Monday night. The fans, everyone, and it didn't happen. And you just sort of, what's happening? What's gone on? And as you say, they're sort of just on the cusp of getting back into them Champions League spots, and then they're not there, and then it's like, okay, is there a bit of a crisis going on? What's going on behind the scenes? So everyone just starts to question. But I think there's a lot of clubs in that situation at the minute. But I fully expect them to go to Crystal Palace today and win. If I'm honest, I think they've got enough, and I think because of the disappointment on Monday, they will bounce back, because that's sort of been their season, if you like. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Well, it was, they go to Nottingham Forest prior to that game.
Yeah, I was at that game, Cass.
Yeah,
and they were brilliant.
Yeah,
they were brilliant.
They were losing 1-0, weren't they? And then went 3-1.
But yeah, they went 1-0 down. But they had control of the game. Sort of Forest got that goal, went ahead, and then sort of didn't know what to do with it, if you like. And Newcastle sort of responded and went. Then took it on, and some fantastic finishes from Isaac, from Joe Linton, and then obviously Harvey Barnes coming on. But it was, it was a really good away performance, and I fully expect, as I said, them to go to Palace now and do it again.
It is the common theme of the season from a lot of clubs, because Spurs, you could look at, they can go to Man United and win their 3-0. They play Ipswich at home and they lose 2-1, and and you think City results in between that. There are many clubs who are doing this. Sort of the theme is inconsistency. That is always the big thing about, for me, from the very best footballers to is if you're consistent and you play for the big clubs, was ultimately the difference of playing Liverpool, Man United, and all the big teams around at the time.
Yeah,
their levels were higher.
Yeah, because they do. Yeah, well, when obviously in my time it was Man United and playing against them and Arsenal.
Yeah,
and you go, and then Chelsea come along, and you're like, it was like they could do it all different ways. So they were not consistent just because they were playing well. They were consistent because they could beat you at all different ways as well.
And physically,
and that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so physically, mentally, they were on top of you. They knew how to get them wins. And we haven't seen anyone sort of take the ball by the horns, if you like, but except Liverpool. And I think and Liverpool have took advantage of City's sort of demise, and Arsenal being a bit stuttery, if you like, and stuttering along. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting from tomorrow onwards to see how the table lies next week.
But as we pointed out, it's largely been inconsistent for Newcastle. Who's been key, though, do you think, so far for them this season? And who will be key today at Crystal Palace for them?
Well, I think you've got to look at the front three, really, and Anthony Gordon, obviously Harvey Barnes, Joe Linton's been playing up there at times. It's whoever Eddie sort of he's now sort of trying to get Tonali and Gomares in the team, and he sort of, well, everyone said we'll played them, and he's like, no, I'll get them back in at a certain point, and he knows Eddie's not, you know, he's very astute with what he does and how he wants to play and how he wants to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see what that midfield three is today.
Yeah, he's got Lewis Miley coming back as well.
Lewis Miley, we had our England under-21s. Hasn't played a lot of games though. Cass has been out for a long time, you know, and these young lads now, and he had a sort of, I think it was a stress fracture as well. So you've got to be really careful how you reintroduce him, and so he knows what he's got, but I think it's just sort of how does he get them all in at that time? And Harvey Barnes coming on as that sort of, he's sort of trying to take the super sub tag off him, but he has been a super sub for them. You can't take that away. So it's going to be, I think it's probably going to be the midfield three and just getting Isak firing at all cylinders, because he's a fabulous player. Yeah,
very much so. As for Crystal Palace, when Oliver Glasner came in last season, they went on a fantastic run. This time around, things have just not quite worked out. I know we've spoken a lot about the fact that they've lost Michael Elise. Joachim Andersen obviously went to Fulham as well. Two big players that would have started, you know, every game as such.
Eze injured was a big
Eze's been injured. Well, they've got a number of injured. Adam Wharton as well.
Yeah.
Why is it not? I mean, is it just as simple as down to the personnel issues that they've had? They haven't quite clicked, or was it just actually a new manager bounce last season?
Well, I think there was a bit of both. If I'm honest, I think, you know, sort of. But then when you lose them key players who were key to you last year, Adam Wharton, no one expected him. You know, the rise of him from coming from Blackburn and then doing what he did in that back half of the season. Obviously, Eze and Elise were, you know, on fire with Mateta up front. So you're looking at it thinking, you know, they've got something going here, and then to lose them, you know, sort of you know, as you just said, Eze in an injury, Elise in the summer, gone to Bayern. Adam Wharton's been suffering with injury, so although he's been playing, he's still suffering.
Well, he had the groin issue, didn't he?
Yeah,
which is
so
again,
he's now out, isn't he? So now he's had to get that operation done, I think, and so I think it's been a like sort of a concoction of all that, which is sort of put Palace back where they are at the minute, and to be honest, you worry for Crystal Palace, because without Eze, you know, where does that flair come from? Where does that sort of quality come from? So it's up to, you know, the Nketiahs who's just come in to sort of step up now.
Well, the good news is I think Eze is available, but he has been missing for about a month, and Nketiah also will return, having missed the last game.
Needs
as
a goal,
well.
Doesn't he? Like, you know, hasn't quite worked. I mean, I found it strange watching him have to play on the left side, and you know, just or on the right side, because they had Ismaila Sarr there, and it's strange seeing him not play the centre forward. But because Mateta done so well at the end of last season with goals.
But I thought it was a strange signing, Cass, because Mateta done so well. Why would you go and get an Nketiah unless you were moving Mateta out? You know, or was he direct competition for Mateta?
Yeah.
But as you say, he's gone to that left, but that's where you sort of see Eze. So it's I thought it was sort of a strange sign for Crystal Palace.
Well, they'll be hoping that they can get him behind Newcastle like they did against Aston Villa. Ismaila Sarr was fantastic, so they'll be hoping that he can, that they can do something similar against Newcastle today.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.